Welcome back again, people. This isn't the Top Lobster Show. This is on my channel. This is it's on Raven's channel too, but we're doing something a little bit different these days. We're making a conglomerization of podcasts, and it's not a swap cast anymore. I just made that shit up. This is gonna be this is the canon. This is gonna be a canon podcast going straight through your timeline, and it'll branch off into the Top Lobster Show or David Corbo's show with the Raven. This is gonna be called the Nephilim Death Squad. And I guess the idea behind is we're bringing in a new interesting guest every week or whenever the hell these people will join us. And we're just going to shoot the shit with them. We want you guys in the live chat talking with us. So without further ado, I'm Top Lobster. Go ahead, man.
What's going on, guys? I am David Lee Corbo, a.k.a. The Raven. And we are sat here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Doenut. What's going on, brother?
Yo, what up? What up, Doe? It's Doenut. Thank you for having me on here. I love your channel. You guys are really like picking up steam with some amazing guests. So thank you for having me on.
Did he just jerk himself off right there? I think
he did, dude. Right in front of us. Right in front of us.
Yeah, our last guest was kind of whack, but so he must be talking about himself. Hell yeah, man. We're glad to have you on. So
can you tell us where to find you? People can find your work before we get into it.
Sure, you can find me at doe-nut.com. I got a Patreon. I'm going to be releasing The Secret Society of Juggalos and Strange News and Phenomenons, an updated one. But we'll talk a little bit about what that today, because I think there's some wild stuff happening with predictive programming in the Mountain Dew. I mean, this gets crazy. The whole priming aspect of the psychological technocracy, they're really on a looking at us like a petri dish through a microscopic lens, but they got the AI algorithm helping them out. But yeah, you can find me at doenut.com, and my private stuff's on the Patreon.
Oh, hey, Doenut, a quick question. I was looking at your aesthetic. Are you a graphic designer?
I'm not, but I work my whole brand with graphic designers. My boy Killator, or Pukey Pete, Horrible Home Video, he does all of my art. So I got this aesthetic through all of my branding with other artists like Justin at Horrible Home Video. I am a video editor, so I've done music videos, mainly lyric videos for some big artists like Twisted, Necro. I've done some Cottonmouth King stuff, just a big underground video editor.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, because I really do. I like everything that you have going on. I could tell that there's an artistic side to you. So very much appreciated when we can get somebody in here that's like not just a content creator, but that's also doing those like paying attention to the minutia behind all their stuff. So I love it. I'm on my way too. I'm doing my best to meet you where you're at here.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, it's I'm Pisces, so I guess Pisceans are very artistic and emotional and all that. And crazy.
I'm just autistic. I'm not artistic, just straight up autistic. But whatever, we're just going for it. You brought up so you were talking about the Mountain Dew thing, and a couple weeks ago me and David were talking about the Hawaii fires and how like the Mountain Dew symbolism was kind of like in your face there. Is that what you're referring to? How does this tie in?
Sure. So in 2001, Code Red Mountain Dew came out, and this happened prior to the events of the two pillars collapsing, where the Homeland Security put up the new like alert system where they had the Code Red. So we went into Code Red right after Mountain Dew released Code Red. Interesting enough, Mountain Dew was going to re-release Code Red this month, but they canceled most recently about it. And when these events took place with Hawaii. They released the Maui Burst and the Baja Blast. And within that same month, that same time span, the two hurricanes that hit District 9, FEMA Region 9, was at Baja and in Hawaii. And a lot of this element of it being called a dew, which is directed energy, right there alone is some sort of priming. So there's this other Mountain Dew symbol that I just found that I gotta look for real quick. But the guy even has a Masonic hat on his head.
Like a are you talking about like
Like a
the
fez?
No,
Yeah.
not the Fez. It's a commander, and I've been looking into this. I think it's quite funny. I just pulled it up on my screen.
It's not the Mad Hatter hat, right?
It's
Oh.
not. It's just the Masonic compass on his hat. So I've been looking into.
Oh. God
Yeah,
damn.
so it's the same thing as the Twitter logo. When you mirror it, and even McDonald's has this apple pie, the same Masonic compass right there. It looks like there's two of them. Um, so I've been looking out for this one. I've been just dissecting Mountain Dew lately.
Have you been drinking Mountain Dew, looking at Mountain Dew?
I've just been drinking Mountain Dew. Got to get into that zone. No, I'm not. I it actually, I don't even eat donuts either. Donuts lower your sex drive, all the sugar, and
So does Mountain Dew. Lowers your sperm count. Remember that?
right. Yellow 5 or red 5. What was it called?
It's
Yeah,
like red
lowers that
40.
cum count. You know what upsets me is like I can get behind the idea of predictive programming. You see it everywhere, honestly, especially if you're paying attention. But it's so disrespectful. They don't give a shit about us. To predictive program us with Mountain Dew feels like the lowest possible hanging fruit. Like that's just them throwing
Wild.
it in your face. Like they don't give a damn about us, dude. And they're gonna kill us and they're gonna show us how they're gonna do it with Mountain Dew.
With the like a dead president just sleeping in a fake White House. It's crazy disrespectful. Like if you're not laughing at this stuff, I don't know what to tell you at this point.
We're
So
in
what
an
do you
interesting
think is going
time.
on there, Donut?
Yeah, well, we're in an interesting time right now with the debt clock just hitting 33 trillion. I thought this was going to happen next year, but within 3 months, it hit 33 trillion. And I mean, this is all Masonic symbolism. The 3 is the most important sort of to Masonry because you got the 3 steps. You see George Washington statue has 3 steps. The court hits the gavel 3 times. YouTube, you got 3 chances to stay up on here. And it's the first 3 degrees, but then the first 3 months, now we're at this 33 trillion. And kind of bringing it back to what you just asked me, what's going on with Mountain Dew priming us psychologically, or movies and magazines. Back in the day, if we go back to H.G. Wells, the original Project Bluebeam of radio transmissions, we didn't really have many stations when the television came out. There was like 6 stations maybe or something like that. But now we live in an age where we have the Black Mirror cell phones in our hand. And I think that they understand the hive mentality, the hive mind as an organism, sort of this technocracy of studying everybody scientifically to govern them as well. They understand the movements of society, whether that's using Twitter, is the reason Elon purchased it, is because it is a data gathering platform. This is very, very important. It's the new gold mine, is data. That's why everywhere we go, we're being super studied on such a scientific level that to prime people and to get their consciousness into the right maneuvering emotionally, or just throwing subliminals in our face, they got to do it on so many different levels. So it's got to go into the Coca-Colas. It's got to go into everything, because it's not just one little radio station controlling us, because that's how the third realm really rose to power, was through radio. You could even look into the memetic warfare, in a sense, of how Elon Trump rose to power through sigil magic of memes. So I just think that everything is super important symbolically to be in your face. And also you're drinking the piss of the elite, in a sense, of these different drinks. I believe Tessarian said that on one of his private podcasts, that about Pepsi, something like that. But like, you're drinking these drinks, so you're putting it into your bloodstream, in your body. What the heck is in these drinks? They could be doing some weird magical ritual. I try to keep such an open mind where not anything will fall into it, but an open mind enough for the creative process, and to get as creative as possible. As these novels, the science fiction comes true within 10 years, or Star Trek or whatnot.
Yeah, I wanted to just like piggyback before I lose this thought. This tweet here, I was going to bring this up later if we ran out of content, but here we are. Elon Musk, the first human patient, will soon receive a Neuralink device. This ultimately has the potential to restore full body movement. Sure. To what you were just saying, Elon Musk bought Twitter, X. And I was really thinking about this recently, as like X, Twitter being the center of everything else that he's doing, right? And Neuralink being, to me, one of the most nefarious, but it is just a data mining organization. He's even said that he's suing other AI organizations for scraping Twitter data, because that's his and his alone. So it's very weird going on. Like now, not only do you have the information suck in place, but you have this infrastructure to put this stuff physically into your brain in place. We're in some very strange times. The mimetic tendencies of like an Elon Musk and a Donald Trump kind of thing, the way they move culture through, well, what they say, but especially Elon with the memes and online, he's delved so deep into this kind of culture that I am super suspicious about everything he does. I don't know if I like it or don't. I guess I don't know. It's been good to me so far, but it's strange.
Doenut just mentioned the whole memetic warfare, right? And now you're talking about this whole thing about how Elon is basically like cultivating this meme culture, and it's kind of the wave he's riding. I mean, obviously he's got his hands in so many different things, right? And he's a brilliant mind, but he's got this ace up the sleeve, and the ace up the sleeve is he knows how to manipulate the culture of memes like nobody else. And it always makes me think about when we have something that's prevalent at the forefront of social media, whether it's the, lady on the plane, that motherfucker's not real, or, whatever, name your meme. I'm so skeptical of all of them. And I look at them all like they're psyops. And people will say to me like, dude, it's a meme. It's a little, and I'm like, you're downplaying how significant memes are. You're downplaying how culturally impactful memes are. Because the only reason memes work is their cultural significance. If they didn't have a cultural significance, if they didn't have a common thread between you and everybody else who's looking at the meme, they simply wouldn't work. So the fact that they work at all is like kind of, it's a little cheeky and it's a little bit funny, and that kind of humor subverts it, and you don't think of it as important. But dude, it is. And if you need an example of that, look no further than Elon Musk riding the meme wave all the way to the top.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
So yeah, I started off in like the libertarian space, like very autistic, reading books, super serious about politics and stuff, and ended up in almost like a comedy realm, which is kind of who I am anyway. But I've also realized that it plays like a much bigger part in influencing, I guess controlling as well. But if you want to tell the truth to somebody, sprinkle some comedy in there. It's like a little bit of sugar, easier to go down,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, comedy lowers the defenses, Everybody takes a crap and everybody has sex. So like that's like the two things that unite us all. So like comedy is used for sure as a strategic element for mind control. You can just see this with the last election. What was the political drive was these comedy shows on Comedy Central, the Trevor Noahs and whatnot that are out there. You know what I mean? And the X is kind of interesting because X was originally going to be a cryptocurrency back in the 90s, where, speaking of libertarian, right, of Bitcoin, when that whole narrative came out. But now, as time goes on, it's kind of like, oh, wow, even those movements are hijacked as well. Like everything is so controlled that it's mind blowing. The counterculture of the hippie movement to even the punk rock movement to even other movements as well. The counterculture has been put in place, just like Terrence McKenna. He was put into place there, and he talked about the memes back in like the 70s. And all a meme is an idea. And it's a funny idea, all wrapped up in one image. So it does lower your defense and it pushes this idea out there. And people get famous and rise to power through the memes. It's like it's so wild to think about. But X.com originally being a cryptocurrency for a digital internet. Now the mematic sigils of Dogecoin. Dogecoin is a meme coin, right? It's like the first one, I believe. Yeah, it's like the first one on its own blockchain, which is interesting too. But that made crypto into the mainstream conscience because it was just like a libertarian thing at first with that. And now it's mainstream because of Elon's Dogecoin. It's all memes, but we can see how the CBDC was the first thing introduced in the HR bill. And this whole ritual going on right now with the 33 trillion debt clock is, like we're saying, that got to hit us on so many levels through the drinks, through the music industry. And so I've been keeping an eye on 50 Cent because his whole unit is based off of money, right? You got 50 Cent. There's the King Kill ritual. JFK is on the 50 Cent. We know what happened to him. He has Lloyd Banks. Lloyd Banks is this England bank. And I mean, that can go all the way back probably to the Templars. Banking right there on Fleet Street. So, I mean, you even got plays, right? Like the barbershop play, Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. Fleet Street is where the Templars did their banking. And the whole aesthetic of that play was the Templar color code of red and white and black, just like KFC. And KFC, you look at his gravestone, he's got the 33 in the Masonic compass, and it's the Templar color, just like Coca-Cola. And you can just see that there's a secret organization all working together. And this doesn't mean like you're a Mason is part of this. Not at all. But there's these higher groups within societies. And the elites can camouflage through different organizations, but then all the people in the organizations have no idea what's going on. But the elites, they just change sides. Republican, Democrat, doesn't even matter. It's just camouflage for the elites to control. So you got plays, movies, even the play Bluebird by Maurice is why the CIA called the MK Ultra sub-project Operation Bluebird. Werner von Braun writing a story about Elon colonizing Mars, and then Elon comes out on the world stage to colonize Mars. Everything to me, I look at as like it's a movie script and a television show.
How much stock do you put into Little Baron Trump by Ingersoll Lockwood?
Oh, okay, yeah. So the whole time traveler thing I think is so fascinating. Is Barron Trump, Donald Trump time traveling? Donald Trump most definitely has his MIT deep state uncle, John Trump, who did get possession of all of Tesla's materials when they like raided his house or whatever, but he was in possession
Yes.
of it. And Tesla was doing some wild stuff. I remember Jordan Maxwell speaking about how Tesla would go to bed and wake up, and there would be a whole notepad written out that he didn't write, that he was communicating with some kind of entity. And Tesla kind of looked like that alien that UNESCO just released in the Nazca lines. And Bear Trump sort of looked like a Nephilim, and even Ethereum guy looks like a Nephilim. So I mean, all these people look kind of strange too, like on the world stage.
Yeah,
But
these guys all reek of Nephilim shit, and it is weird because we um Top is like he was expressing before, he came in through a very kind of political way. And I've always been on the outskirts of politics. Initially I had my reservations because I thought that it was purposely difficult to understand so that the layman couldn't engage in it. And then once I did start to understand it, I started to feel like it was much more of a song and dance. On the lower levels, especially in your local municipalities, there is a lot of good things that you can affect if you get involved with it. But on its highest levels, it all plays out like a movie. And I cannot ignore the fact that my eyes see like a script, because so often, especially on the world stage, in politics, in Hollywood, things happen in such a way that I have this internal narrator going, you couldn't write a better story than this. You couldn't put a show on Netflix that would be more entertaining than what's going on, behind the scenes on the world stage. And so, yeah, I just can't help but feel like on the lower levels, you can still affect things. And in your local area, you can affect things. But man, on the world stage, that is a whole fucking song and dance. It's a play for the people, for the masses, and we don't get to say what happens. It all just happens to us, and we just watch it unfold. And then, couple that with all of these things we were kind of getting into a little bit of the music industry. It's interesting that you brought up uh, the Juggalos because I recently had a guest on my other show, Paul from Understanding Conspiracy, and Paul was talking about. Did you just whoop whoop? And
oh,
Paul
woo
was
woo.
talking.
Yeah, yeah, I'll do up the wicked clown. I'm the biggest juggalo. I'm the juggalo of the year for consecutively over 35 years. Drake just took my position though.
I didn't know that Drake was a Juggalo. I had no idea that he was that he was down with the clown.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'll pull up my. I don't have it up yet, but I'm gonna look for my new thumbnail.
Do
Um,
you do the face paint?
I used to. Yeah, I was.
Dude, that's
It's some
Yeah.
dedication. That's dedication.
Oh, I was. I'm a loyal. Yeah.
Let me ask you
Fan.
this then, because this is going to perturb you. You're going to
Yeah.
be conflicted, dude. Have you ever heard of the correlation between the modern day visage of the clown and the Nephilim and how one is meant to pay homage to the other? And look at
Oh
you,
yeah.
still down with the clown. That's
Oh
Nephilim shit.
yeah. No, no. I think that's so. See, I'm putting together this documentary right now.
Tell me
The
about it.
Secret Society of Juggalos. I'm releasing the first volume of the research today, the latest tomorrow afternoon. It's pretty much done going into the first section, but then I would love to interview the guy that you interviewed. And I know that Mark at My Family Thinks I'm Crazy interviewed as well. And I think Tinfoil Hat did, on how the clowns are Nephilim. I mean, mind blowing. Yeah. So I can't wait. I haven't been able to sit down and listen to it yet. I'd like to bring that guy on to interview him. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it gets deep. Here's Drake wearing the Ringmaster shirt, and like for me, I mean, it's my favorite band ever since a kid.
Really?
Yeah, me and my mom would go to the concerts. My mom is or was a Deadhead as well with the Grateful Dead, and then I just see the similarities of, the Grateful Dead bear and the Hatchet Man right there on the cover. So
Oh yeah, look at that.
I think I'm the perfect person to do the decode because I know pretty much so much as being such a fan, and how I look into the symbols. And the whole time I've been a fan of ICP, I've been looking into the symbols to see if they were Illuminati, and I saw nothing. And I still don't think that they are, but I do think that elements of George Soros type societies definitely want to infiltrate it. And I do think that uh, they keep on trying to. And but now it's getting even crazier, bro. This decode is nuts, bro. Because I go into Eminem and ICP because I started studying the occult even more deeply with Aleister Crowley, the Golden Dawn, Theosophy, the Grateful Dead being connected to the CIA. You got Tavistock, right, controlling the music industry, and Esalen Institute pretty much seems like it created Charles Manson to end the hippie movement. And then you got Russell Brand, who looks like Charles Manson, who just got dropped by his agent called Tavistock. Weird.
Yeah.
There.
Coincidence, right?
This is
Yeah.
crazy. I can't.
Yeah. So it's just like, there's this book by Aleister Crowley called Moonchild. And I learned this from the One-on-One podcast. And he says it's a story of black magicians and white magicians battling. And it's sort of like the Golden Dawn versus Aleister Crowley. And I'm like, the Golden Dawn is Samuel Mathers, just like Marshall Mathers. There's that whole rumor of Eminem's grandfather was the Golden Dawn. And then, so they would be the white magicians, you know. And there's even a correlation to Eminem and the Moonchild too, because his first album, there's a big moon behind him, and he's B Rabbit, and there's the rabbit on the moon, which goes into the whole alien disclosure.
Can I interrupt for a second? I gotta ask you, Top, who growing up, who were some of your favorite artists?
Dead Kennedys, ICP, Necro, everybody. My first.
So you were much more into the sort of the underground scene, right?
Yeah, I mean, so like for me, I grew up in Las Vegas. The only thing a kid can do in Vegas is go to concerts. You can't go to casinos. You can't do anything.
A lot of them do meth. That seems to be working out for them.
Yeah, you know, I never did that, but I did do other stuff. But I'm sober now, so I'm good.
Well, so Top, what about you? What were some of your favorite artists growing up?
Sorry, they're doing crazy. I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead, guys. I have construction going on in my house. My shit is vibrating, but
I've seen so many bands, bro. I've seen Dropkick Murphys. I've seen Circle Jerks. I've seen Guar multiple times. I've seen Hatebreed, Revenhorn Heat. I've seen Tupac Outlaws. I've seen Two Live Crew. I've seen like almost everybody, and I've met a lot of people too. I've met Violent J of ICP. I did video work, and he was the nicest person I've ever met.
I do hear that about them. I hear they're really nice guys. Now, me, I hated them when I was a kid. And the reason I hated them is because I was a huge Eminem fan. The very first album that I ever had was the Eminem Show. My mother bought it for me when I was like 12 years old or something like that. I came into like music late. There was other kids when I was, 10, 11, 12 that liked music. I didn't really care for it. My mom bought me the Eminem Show. My fucking life changed. But dude, when you want to talk about symbolism in music, and also as far as psyops that you were just alluding to his grandfather and who his grandfather might have been, Eminem was such a massive cultural phenomenon. I look back at him actually and I'm like, you kind of fucking led like my generation to a really weird place because he was the Pied Piper of my generation. Like we just fucking followed wherever that dude went. I hadn't listened to an ICP song before. I was like, fuck those dudes. Mm-hmm. But later on, when we're talking about like the album, what was the album that had the song 3 a.m. on it? It was Relapse. The album Relapse. In the song 3 a.m., he sings from two points of views. One is his, and the other one is the demon that he sold his soul to. And this is so great, dude, because I wanted to ask you this really badly, and I'm glad that you're very much into music, and so hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about. But he talks from the point of view of the demon that he sold his soul to. And basically it was like, "Oh, do I have to remind you that you sold your soul to me, and the deal was I'm going to allow you to watch your little girls grow, and then I'm going to come and collect." And the whole song, he says, like, at one point he goes 1 2 3 chicka 1 2 3 chicka 1 2 3, that ain't the hook, now follow me. And that's literally 666. He just said 666 before he went into the verse. The Eminem is one of the most prolific artists when it comes to subversive shit in his music. And I wanted to know if you had ever heard of the idea of Rain Man, Yog Sothoth, and the 13 Globes.
I've heard of Rain Man. I remember reading about it. It's one of those sort of older disclosures on the internet with this, how
Yes.
there's Rihanna with the Rain Man. But can you tell us about it a little more?
So basically the idea is that and I don't know how married these two concepts are, but there's Yog Sothoth, which is a sort of a Lovecraftian Cthulhu-esque space monster, right? He's even got sort of the visage of a squid, I believe. And he is the overseer of 13 globes, and these globes each represent a different entity. And some of them are good at helping you find hidden treasures. Some of them are good at making you attractive to the opposite sex. Rain Man, in particular, goes by two names, and I forget what the other name is, but it does go back to that whole Rihanna, umbrella, umbra, meaning shade, uh, was an interchangeable phrase you could use to describe these things. And so when you go to the umbrella video, and she's doing this weird pose where it's a grayscale image, and she's bowed her head between her knees, and she's sat upon her shins, and her arms are extended behind her. So you're sort of looking at her back, and it looks just like a Baphomet head, some sort of greasy demon head. But the the entity that Eminem and Rihanna deal with is the one that goes by the name of Rain Man. And Rain Man in particular is about two things: money and fame. That's it. He has the ability to move great amounts of wealth, back and forth wherever he so pleases, and also to generate an incredible amount of fame for whoever the user may be. And man, I'm telling you, when I first started digging down that rabbit hole, you know what it's like to discover a thing, and now you suddenly start to look at things in hindsight through that new lens. Well, I was able to look back at Eminem's body of work through that new lens of Rain Man and Umbra, and it was like this whole dude's path was predetermined. Like, I mean, not to take anything away from Eminem, is a fantastic lyricist. He does kind of get old after you listen to him too much. You know what I mean? It's because he's got that voice. It sounds the same. It's very repetitive. But he was like Moses parted the sea for this bad boy, and he just fucking took off and took the whole nation by storm. And when you think about the cultural impact of him, and you couple that with the really weird sort of spiritual demonic crap that he was into, it felt different than rock stars, right? Rock stars sing, or they'll have the imagery of the pentagram and all that stuff, but Eminem is talking to demons in his music. He's having conversations with demons, and that just felt a little bit more personal. And I think hip hop does that. That's what makes it different than rock, because everyone's like, why are we mad at hip hop for being satanic these days? Rock has been doing it forever, but something about hip hop is more personal. They're willing to take a more nuanced look at the demons behind the curtain than rock was. Rock was wearing it as what felt like irony. Like, we're just rebelling against our Catholic parents, and hip hop was like, let me tell you a little bit more about demons. Let me tell you something a little bit truer about demons. Let me pull back the curtain a little bit. And that's where shit gets really weird. Do you find that, or am I off on that?
So it's funny that you bring up all this, because I just love this topic so much. So I'm super excited and pumped, because my first album of Eminem was in the 4th grade. I saw him premiere Hi, My Name Is live when the first day it premiered. I seen South Park premiere. I mean, I used to watch TV. I was very into pop culture. My parents very accepting and loving, which is the number one thing for a parent to really fight against. The establishment is the unconditional love as well through the schooling system. All the parents, the toxic parents out there. There's so many of them, and nobody's perfect. There's dysfunction in every single living life is dysfunctional a lot of times, but in the fourth grade, I got that Slim Shady LP, and on the cover of it is a Vicodin, right? And that goes into the opioids and the opioid epidemic that's happening now. So, I mean, right there is sort of that whole Tavistock Institute of the hippie movement to get people to say cool, so they will start doing drugs, LSD, and all this, which is now uh, pretty much documented MK Ultra schizoids to get people under mind control, and through some mystical element. I mean that's all. It's all there, and people get really upset when I bring up the hallucinogens because a lot of people love them. Um, but I mean, this is documented stuff. MK Ultra, all So I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm saying stuff. People get mad when you talk about celebrities. So anyway, Eminem, I listened to them before ICP, but I was very much like you. Then they had the beef, so I was like, I'm loyal. I'm gonna pick a side, and I stopped listening to Eminem. Um, so I'm very much like you, which I think is a good quality. But
I agree.
rock and roll means sex. That's where it originates from in the 1907 or something like that. And the 27 Club, you got that blues singer who met at the four corners at the crossroads. And then you got like Bone Thugs meet you at the crossroads.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson. There you go.
So, I mean, you got the blues element in blues. They pushed heroin to people on the blues. So each movement, Eminem pushed the opioids, and Dr. Dre pushed the chronic. And the chronic is Chronos, which is Saturn. And there's a lot of Saturn symbolism with the chronic. And Dr. Dre created Eminem out of a lab. Eminem, he was not a dirty rapper. He stole those elements of horrorcore because in Detroit you had Esham. Esham is who Eminem stole all of that the wicked shit is what it is. And he stole that from them. And this ICP also was influenced by Esham as well. So everyone's influenced by Esham, but you won't really hear that this is all coming from like Juggalo stuff too, like big time. Eminem wanted to be like with ICP.
Really? And so he was just kind of fucking a little butthurt that they wouldn't let him in his club?
The lore goes that Eminem was going to perform, and he wrote on the flyer, ICP might attend. And ICP got mad at him for like doing that. And that's kind of how that whole drama went. But all that stuff was washed under the bridge a long time ago with proof of D12. And they all became homies. And then proof died too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of strange stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, we were talking about just how ridiculous it is. And I think it's probably a good way to segue into just music in general. I think specifically hip hop. It was like around Eminem and Jay-Z, Kanye, Rihanna, the Run This Town. Remember that whole era of music? That to me was when the gate was really kicked open in regards to just letting it all hang out. You know, Jay-Z, his albums, The Blueprint, were some of the most obvious like signaling to Freemasonry that I had ever, especially in my sort of juvenile conspiracy theory years. We lost Top. That's right. He'll be back. In as a juvenile conspiracy theorist, even those were easy for me to pick up. The symbolism, I mean, it changed everything for me. It was like a little switch went off, and I started to look at music entirely differently. And honestly, if I go back to what got me into this, I would say we're talking 2006, 2007. Um, I started to see these things in it's probably also the same time I started smoking weed, which I think like, weed has this introspective aspect to it, and you'll kind of obsess and mull over a thing in your mind over and over and over again. So it was kind of the perfect tool for a would-be conspiracy theorist, where I started to go through all these music videos and just pick apart everything, and it was ripe for the picking. There was so much back in the day, and I would say since then, with the introduction of people like Lil Nas X, and he's twerking on the devil. There's not even we're far beyond symbolism. It's no longer symbolic. It's no longer subliminal. It's more just in your face and celebrated. And I think it kind of goes under the guise of like, how wild is that? But I don't think the audience thinks it's wild anymore. We're way beyond the era of like shock value for satanic imagery and, Freemasonry. I remember people used to tell me when I was younger that the reason, yeah, sure, Dave, there are symbols in the music videos. Yeah, sure, Dave. Some of these artists are signaling to these secret societies, but the secret societies aren't real and the symbols don't mean anything. The reason that they're doing this is to create mystique around their brand. That was how people would dismiss this to me. And I'm going, imagine putting all these things, this owl in the background, the goat head. There was a music video by Justin Timberlake. Do you remember the song Mirror? It's like you're a mirror. Oh, that shit, dude. That video is because I knew mirrors were a big kind of a cult symbol. And so when that song came out, I was like, gonna check out this fucking music video, dude. And it's just filled with owls and goat heads and pentagrams and all seeing eyes and the triangles. And look, it costs a lot of money to get somebody to decorate a set. Okay. It's a very undertaking a music video is an expensive undertaking. How much money are these artists willing to dedicate to try to cater to a fan base or grow a fan base that is infinitesimally small, right? Conspiracy theorists make up a very small percentage of the community or the world at large, and you're catering to them. You're paying a set designer to put all these fun, creepy things in here so that you can try to add some. I just couldn't buy it. I never could buy it. It just seemed like such a reductive. It's the same argument, or it comes from the same place when people would say, hey, the only reason there's a golden penis on the cover of The Little Mermaid, or the only reason that it says sex in the stars in The Lion King, or the only reason you hear a disembodied voice in Aladdin say, all good teens take off their clothes, is because animators are having a laugh. That's the only reason, because animators think it's funny. All of the dismissals were so reductive, and I just never bought into that. Did you experience like any of that stuff? Because it sounds like you were ahead of the curve all those years ago, and it sounds like you've been into these kind of looking for these esoteric symbols and things of that nature for just as long, if not longer, than I have. Is that something that you experienced?
Oh, absolutely. It started with Jello Biafro. He was on this show talking crap about Tipper Gore or something back in the day, because the whole punk movement was always anti-establishment. So I was already questioning the narrative as a kid. But then it turns out that those movements were put there by the establishment. So that's what the establishment wanted, a bunch of socialists and stuff like that. Then what happened with our generation is that we were introduced to Zeitgeist, which had Jordan Maxwell in it. That's something different than the boomers. The boomers, they didn't have Zeitgeist. In that movie as well, it was totally New World Order propagated garbage, at least the second one. But the first one really opened your mind to like, oh, well, now I heard about Jordan Maxwell through that, went down the rabbit hole, started listening to him a lot. And he would talk about liquid assets, waters, maritime law. And I was just like, oh my goodness, the banking system, everything's fiat currency is the water. And I was like, wow, this goes really, really deep. And it's just, once you started showing the symbols, then you'd go to your family events, people be watching football, and you just see a Saturn commercial for the cars, and you just see Saturn symbolism everywhere. And you're like, what the heck is this? Like, so once you are awake to the symbols, it's just a language. And you can't unsee it. It's sort of like when you learn like the F word's a bad word. If you see it, you know, oh, that's a bad word. But they definitely be doing some crazy stuff, like with those Disney movies. Disney released an ICP album, actually.
What?
Yeah,
What are
and
you talking about?
yeah, so like I'm such a fan, so I know like every single thing about ICP. ICP, the Great Malenko, was under a Disney label, and then Disney pulled it off its shelf. So they don't really get any money off of that album. Disney gets all the money. They really screwed them. So they'd always be talking crap about the rat Disney. So there's this element of, oh yeah, yeah, like F Disney, they screwed these guys over, which seems very, very real. But now that I'm learning about the Grateful Dead and whatnot, like, oh wow, the counterculture was implanted there for a reason with Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary, top professor Harvard, psychologist department right there, just like Jordan Peterson right now. That Jordan Peterson and Timothy Leary, even though they're polarized, they're changing the entire value structure of the society. So Jordan Peterson, top Harvard psychologist, pushing family values, which is a good thing, but radical in today's world. And then Timothy Leary was pushing the counterculture radically, and they both were persecuted. So there's so much similarities to them both that, I mean, even that makes you question what's going on over there. But yeah, so that happened too. So I'm looking into all this. The Disney stuff is weird. Werner von
That's
Braun,
bizarre.
all that.
Oh yeah. Do you happen to know about this? Because I'm peripherally aware of this idea that Walt Disney wasn't his real name and that he was part of the propaganda arm of the Nazi regime. But it's like everybody is part of the Nazi regime once you start looking at things through the lens of Operation Paperclip, like you just said, Warner von Braun and NASA. And I always wondered if there was any validity to that. Like what? Because if that was true, Disney is the most effective propaganda machine on the planet. And it's aimed at who? Directly at children, right? So if you want to affect a culture, then you aim at the children. And it's really kind of disheartening because having this conversation with you reminded me of I just heard Sam Tripoli say something recently, and I was like, damn, dude, I'm having a hard time arguing with it. And it's this idea that like culture is not good. Culture is sort of the enemy of the people because we're so far removed from a natural organic culture. And I couldn't even tell you for how long we've been under the thumb of manufactured culture. So our biggest celebrities, typically manufactured. We just talked about the whole meme aspect, internet culture, social media, all manufactured, more than likely by something reminiscent, if not the CIA or a branch of the CIA or some sort of black budget program within the CIA that nobody gets to look at the numbers and see what the hell they're doing. And it's like if you start to take any aspect of, we'll take cinema, media, right? We're talking Hollywood. Yeah, and I heard you talking about it the other day. It was Hollywood, right? The wood of the holly tree. It's what they used to make wands out of. It's what the druids would make wands out of. And so it's literally casting a spell. The propaganda machine of Hollywood is casting a spell over the people. And that spell is, in my opinion, manufacturing culture, music, manufactured culture, memes, manufactured culture. I struggle to find any aspect outside of your immediate home, the culture that you and that's not to say you're not influenced by the culture, but at least the real organic one is the people in your home and your family, your loved ones and your friends and the culture that you create amongst them. But culture at scale, the large version, the overhanging looming culture that covers the nation is manufactured. it's I always say that people, their opinions are not their own. And that's not a hot take. That we're talking, what is it? Operation Mockingbird, with the Mockingbird media. It's like they spoon feed us what to be mad at today. And the way you can tell that is, we were talking about it at the top of the show. Nobody gives a shit about Maui, but everybody's concerned about Ukraine, for example. Right? And it's like one of them is actually here in America, and the other one is a place that most people couldn't even point out on a map. Although I'm kind of inclined to say most people couldn't point out Hawaii on a map either, but that's another topic. And so you can find no shortage of examples of that. The thing you should actually give a shit about, nobody cares about. The thing that doesn't even have any relevancy to you, you're up in arms about, and you're changing your profile picture. So it's like even the opinions that we have are manufactured. And man, you go down that too far and it's almost stifling. It's almost like suffocating. It's like, what part of this is genuine anymore? What does genuine culture even look like? And I think that maybe that's what happens. It's like you have this melting pot that is America, and there's so many different cultures and races all living together, and there's no way that any one of them would come out as the dominant culture or the dominant influential race or culture. And so what happens? One is provided for us. It's that Albert Pike line, right? When the people need a hero, we shall provide one for them, or something of that nature. Albert Pike being the 33rd degree Freemason. I have his book. It's fucking like 800 pages long. Have I read it? No, I haven't. It looks cool on my shelf, and when people come over, they think I'm really cool because I have a 800 page out. Is that it right there? Morals and Dogma?
Yeah.
Dude,
Just
you
to look
are
cool.
we're just like each other, dude.
Yeah, I never read it. I just look cool with it.
Now those are like all my
Welcome back,
Austrian
Top.
economic
What the
books.
fuck happened, bro?
Well,
Sorry.
what it is these Timothy Leary called it reality tunnels, and there's a lot of truth to what he was saying there. And even I've just finished reading a Robert Anton Wilson book. So you got this counterculture that's talking about Illuminati, but they're straight connected to the Illuminati, So there's this like strange stuff, but there's a lot of truth in what they're saying, where you get imprinted at an early age of your culture. So if you're born in America, you're going to be like America. If you're born in China, you're going to be like China. If you're born anywhere you're born, you're imprinted through your household as well. So if your household is this religion or that religion, or you're being imprinted, and you can imprint a duck, an owl, you can imprint a human to believe that you're its mother. So like a Jeep can get imprinted by a giraffe can get imprinted by a Jeep if it sees it first during the imprinting stage, and then it will try to have sex with a Jeep. And then that is hardcore. You can't really get rid of that. And those are just reality tunnels people live in. So it's good to, get culture, learning about other people's stuff. I think one of the things is that people are scared of what they don't know about. So it's much easier to point your finger and be like, those are the bad people. Do you know anything about those people? Have you hung out with them? It's good to go down different reality tunnels. So that's what they talked about in the book. And I agree with that. Like learning of what other people have to say as well, not being so closed-minded. But this culture that we're given, this manufactured culture, is for the imprinting stages. And I think this is why you got such a divide with man and woman, which is the ultimate divide. Because we watch these Disney movies and we think that there's this magical woman or magical man. That's not reality. They don't show like reality of humans and how we operate. So we all live in this like weird world. It gets deep. It's so scientific the way it is. Like Ignatius Loyola, he said, give me the kid until 5 or whatever, and I'll show you the man. That old saying. They've known this for a long time. And he was part of the Illuminabratos, which I think is quite fascinating too. Because all the secret societies go back a long, long time, in different thought patterns as well, and revolutionary philosophies, going back to Heraclitus and That revolutionary spirit is a religion of the Illuminati, who base all their mystical elements of the assassin order, the Shashins in 1090 AD. So this is like an old, uh, there's secret groups pushing all this or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. I keep going on these rants and then I don't know where I'm heading with it.
That's exactly what this show is for. It's for the rants. I want to ask this question to Top because he disappeared on us. He got fed up and then he decided, fuck it, I'm gonna come back. We're gonna continue Nephilim Death Squad. And I think this is a good question to bring Top back on. And then I'd like to get Donut's thoughts on it too. Bike Hub. I imagine I'm not sure who Bike Hub is, who he's a fan of, but asked a question and said, then who is in control? And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the classic question, right? Who is they? Who is the proverbial they? And I'd like to start it off with Top. Top, who is they, dude?
That's a loaded question, and we have 3 YouTube accounts hooked up to this channel right now. So I'm not, no, I mean the obvious answer, or like the low hanging fruit answer. People will blame the Jews right away. The whole thing with the hashtag ban the ADL that's going on right now, which I don't know if you've seen, but Jonathan Greenblatt, I think that's his name. He's actually out there saying my boys Jake Shield and Keith Woods by name, saying that I think he's trying to bring back the, what is that called? Agenda 2 something, where they're trying to make social media platforms liable for what their publishers say. They want to make them a publisher rather than just a producer. So we're revisiting that old theme from like 3 or 4 years ago again. It's fucking boring. But yeah, so a lot of people will say, well, you know, the Jays run this and run that. And it's like they do. But I also do kind of subscribe to the line of thinking that like a Sam Tripoli would say, where it's like, nah, they're just like middle management. If you know who they are, if you see their face, they're not really running this shit. So they're getting orders from the top or like way down below, probably from the bottom, you know? And why would they get these orders to do these things? Like why flood the internet with pornography? Why kind of like push OnlyFans to a forefront where, you know, like the lie is that these girls are going to be making more money than if they worked at Wendy's, but in reality, most OnlyFans girls don't make anything. Why push here Bike Hub over here with the question here, how long until Disney has their trans agenda movie? Yeah, why push all these things? And again, like why use Mountain Dew as your forefront to conspiracy? Because it's fucking hilarious, and they hate us. They hate our guts. They want to see us dead. And so who is they? Who is they is the question. I think it goes back to ancient times. Like we're talking about the fallen angels. It goes back to Lucifer, Satan. Just the very beginning. Why does he hate us? Well, human beings replaced him, and we're kind of like shitty little creatures, right? Well, we have something that's more special than him. We have the ability of creation, and we have a soul, but he was God's favorite angel, kicked out of heaven, disgraced, brought a bunch with him, and then ever since then kind of went on this journey to undermine what God has left for the people. I don't know if you're religious or not, but this is just what the biblical texts say, and you know, if you go down this line of thinking. So when I think who is they, it's like, it's like fallen angels, Nephilim, these kind of like demonic figures, because none of it really makes sense. All of these like separate events, like why would you taint our music in this way to influence us? And also, you know, who was the first, who was like the godfather of music? If you read back, it's like Lucifer, while he's walking, he had tendrils and tassels, and as he walked, he made like sounds, beautiful sounds. So the original musician, why change the hertz from 432 to 440 just to fuck up to fuck up the way we vibrate? Why would you do these things? Because you hate us, because they hate us. And the only logical explanation to me is, you know, all the way at the very bottom of it, it has to be some kind of like ancient Luciferian thing, or, you know, fallen angels, demons, just the jealousy. That's really all that's what I think when it comes down to it. And we're used as tools, like we're moved around in different spots to do these things. My rant's over.
I agree with Top. I'm in the very same camp. You know, the show is called Nephilim Death Squad. and we're going to warm up to eventually when people start to figure out why we called it that, is because, in my opinion, all of this sort of, fuckery, whether it's music industry, whether it's CIA psyops, it's the alien crap, it's whatever it is. I always seem to be able to find a thread where I'm like, this is of the fallen angels. This is of the Nephilim. This is Nephilim shit. So I'm in the same camp as Top Man. It's like, who can play a game this long and this advanced? Who can play a game this sophisticated over the entirety of the human race? Who has the power to move culture on such a scale? Who's playing a game that a normal mortal man is not ever going to see the fruits of his labor? Because these things, they take generations and hundreds of years. I mean, thousands if you want to really get down to it. So who's got that kind of skin in the game? Who's able to play that long of a game? And to me, it's the Fallen. This is all the same story. And I'm not even necessarily a Christian. I just see the angles and I see the connections, and I go, fuck, man, I can't. Yeah, exactly. Boom. Only an ancient spiritual being. Because we look at the George Soroses and the David Rockefellers and all these different people, and we point to them as the flavor of the day bad guy. Like, what's his name from the WEF? I feel like he fucking what's the main guy's name?
Klaus Schwab. Yeah.
Klaus Schwab. I've been in this for a long time and was only ever like mildly peripherally aware of Klaus Schwab. And I wasn't aware of him the whole time. I was aware of like the Rockefellers and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden it feels like he was catapulted to the forefront of conspiracy theories aim, or theorists aim. You know what I mean? Like, now all of a sudden he's the bad guy of the week. And now Klaus Schwab, he's going to die soon. He's old and he's probably diabetic and he's not got very long here, and he's never going to see the real fruits of his labors. And so, I always go back to that. Like, who is playing this long ass game that they're never going to experience, the end goal of what they've put into motion? It's not people, dude, in my opinion. But Doenut, what do you think? I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times Saturn, and I'm familiar with the Black Cube and Saturn as Kronos, and also the whole interchangeable thing between, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Baal being described as the king of storms, and there's images of Baal that you can put next to images of Zeus where they look incredibly similar, and they're even holding, I guess, what would have been Zeus's lightning bolt. It's sort of a three-pronged, short-staffed handle thing. There's three prongs on each side. Baal is also depicted with it. Although, don't hold me to that, because I can't seem to find the fucking picture on the internet ever again after I saw that. So it could be bullshit. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, these are all interchangeable. These Fallen, these Nephilim, Kronos, the Greek pantheon, all these characters are all the same people. But who, in your opinion, if you could put a couple of names out there, who's running these things?
Oh, sure. I think that's a great question, is the they. And this is kind of how this is how the elite, the Illuminati, control the peasants, sort of like me, right? Me, I'm a peasant compared to the Illuminati, is by putting everybody against each other. So I'm raised Jewish. I'm 100% Jewish. You know what I mean? And my family got bankrupted in 2008. They all got the stupid medicines. All this New World Order propaganda has affected my life and my family's life. So I hear on the internet all the time, through my own imprinting of being religious. So whatever religion you are, that culture at your home, that gets imprinted into you. And that's the belief system. So you got, this is like old theories of pointing fingers at a certain group of people, like myself. Like I'm like, what? It's just insane. But not looking
Wait.
deeper.
So you and your family didn't have anything to do with the 2008 housing collapse?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't knock down the Twin Towers? That wasn't you guys? Like,
what the?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, bro, like growing up Jewish in Vegas, you're going to have to fight people. At least I did, because you get crazy people out there. So it's like people won't listen to my channel only because I'm raised Jewish, right? Isn't that what racism is? Isn't that being racist? the whole Marxism, all this evil satanic element, which I believe is satanic, doesn't help Jewish people at all. First off, because Jews rise to power through capitalism. So that makes no sense pushing communism. That's not going to do anything for them. So there's all this stuff that makes no sense. And how the Illuminati and these organizations work is they hide behind certain religions. So you got the Sabbateans, right? That come out like, oh, we're Jewish, but then they convert to Muslim. And then after that, they convert to Catholicism. So it's all camouflage that they use just to pin each other against one another. That's where I'm coming from. And I always look into it, and look, you got higher elements to each like, I don't like organized crime and a lot of organized religion. That's kind of like goes into the mind control thing. I believe in God, and I believe everybody should have whatever they believe, their own understanding of a higher power. That's their own thing. I don't know why people are so controlling. People are like, oh no, you need to do it my way. I mean, like, everybody sounds like Illuminati, and that's how I look at it. Is the whole world is the Illuminati in a sense, because they're the social pressures of saying, oh, it's a witch, let's burn the witch. Oh, you're not gonna put something over your face, get out of here. I mean, all this stuff. People are just controlling and evil, and that's what it is. You were saying it before. It's good versus evil in a sense. Like, you got evil people. Like, who hired the Rothschilds, right? The Bayers, who hired them to manage their money? Why does no one look at who that is? Who put them into power, like you're saying? And so a lot of my research goes into that as well, and looking into it, because I want the questions and I want the answers. But you got higher level people, like higher level Masons, for example, but then everybody else is just normal ass people just trying to provide for their family. And the more separated people become, for example, China is a great example. You tell an American China isn't the enemy, they're going to get crazy mad. And they're going to be like, oh, what are you talking about, China? Because they've been programmed to believe this. Even though China kicked George Soros out, China is like rising in their economy. I'm not saying that they're good or nothing. I'm all about freedom in America and all that. You know what I'm saying? But that's my own reality tunnel. So we all have reality tunnels that have been programmed in us, which goes back to our fight or flight, survival, fear. Everything's fear-based. When the pillars fell down, everyone was scared. And then they were like, it was these people. And turned out it wasn't those people. But we were all cheering us, like millions of people dying, So it's all a control system. Like, every single thing, every element is to control us for blood rituals. I mean, and I mean, people always point out the tiny hats. I think that's hilarious. But they don't look into the Anglo-American establishment. They don't look into anything. Everyone's like, my religion's right, your religion's wrong, or whatever. But like, tell me about your Templar flags, like, that are connected to the religions. Tell me, like, I only like researchers who, if they're going to go after one religion, they're going to have to go after all of them. They're going to have to present the information in a non-biased way. But yeah, I think it's a red herring, for sure. A red herring to blame someone. They set it up so people will blame someone, and that's easy research, baby, kind of old school kindergarten. We're on the next level now. Like, the red herring, point at them. I don't have to research anymore. I don't have to look into anything. It's them. I don't know who they are, but it's them, right? And now I can go on with, it's the Democrats. It's not the Republicans. but they don't know the Carol Quigley quote that of the false paradigm of the two-party system. Who's controlling the two-party system in between? Yeah, so I don't know. That's probably it. I'm
crazy
still
thing about
studying
that
it.
too.
I'm still trying to figure it out as well, and I'm open
Yeah.
to hearing everybody.
That the crazy thing about that is that like, so most people, if like say 40% of people is just like the surface is like CNN, Fox News. That's as deep as they'll scratch. Then if you keep scratching, you could scratch it like maybe like 5 more layers. Then you get to all the Jew stuff, right? And then people stop there. But if you keep scratching, it goes so deep that it is a task to really like try to understand. You have to understand the broad history of everything to like narrow it down. It's like, all right, well then, power was shifted here and then blame was put here. It's insane. It's insane to expect people to dig that deep. And whoever has done has kind of painted like whether it be the Jewish people or whatever, whoever, name a group of people in any given time period. And it's like to ask somebody to do this kind of research is like it's insane. You can never do it. The PR of what's happening now, because it is happening again big time, and it's like it is a psyop, right? Like it's being pointed against the Jewish people, and Elon Musk is almost leading this, right? Where he's like, well, he's not even doing it on purpose. He's talking about the ADL. They're being very specific, but what most people hear is Jews, right? So now again, we're coming back into this weird cycle where it's like we're not very careful with what we're doing, and not just specificities, but like we have to educate people about what is going on here, and otherwise it's going to go sideways. And I see it going sideways again. I don't know. Jewish people probably taking a fall again. It's very messy. Something needs to happen where there has to be like an explanation. Like, yo, these people don't represent us. What they came into power, the ADL, by defending a pedophile. This is not an organization that speaks for the rest of us. I don't think there's been a good job at really differentiating with that. So I don't know what to do. I'm paying attention. I know, and
I don't think there's anything we can do. Like the plan that they're planned, they're going to roll out the plan, and the plan usually is bloodshed rituals. So I mean, like it's nothing. My thing is, I'm not even trying to wake people up. I just follow my own like research because I think God's in control of everything. So I don't even, I take the action, I do my thing, but I'm not like a warrior out here. Wake up to the world. I used to be, but then I realized doing that doesn't make me any better than the psychotic left. That's like, you need to believe how we believe,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That
Talk was
I
just
gave that roll up too. Like I was, again, like it's becomes very preachy. Like even if you're a Christian and you want to evangelize to people, being very preachy at them doesn't change their mind. Be personable. Maybe not even try to like give them an ideology, but just like open up their mind. Like, hey, like we're over here talking about this, they're over here talking about that, and come in. Most often, what I see is like you're gonna go to whoever's having the most fun. So like, if Doenut's out there making dope videos, laughing, people like his shit, they're gonna go to him, And I think that's kind of what I'm after. Just I'm trying to have some fun. This world kind of sucks if you really sit and think about it all the time. So it's like, yo, come over here, laugh with us, chill. We're gonna talk about Nephilim a little bit. We're not gonna change much, but we'll let you know what we know, sort of, and we'll go from there. And hopefully, we're not lying too much to you guys about what we know.
No, but you're right. You can't try to evangelize to people, and you certainly can't pick a group and tell people like that's who the problem is. If you take into consideration like how many cultures have been destroyed and buried, right? How many giant temples are at the bottom of the ocean? How many are lost in the Amazon? How many of them have literally been buried? The Library of Alexandria burned to the ground. We just had the fires in Notre Dame, and during the war in Iraq. How many megalithic structures were like bombed and lost to time forever? You can't imagine that or at least I can't imagine that I'd be able to definitively tell people what the hell's going on, knowing that I couldn't even quantify the amount of history we've lost. I mean, there are people, and maybe I'm one of them, who think that a lot of these wars were not for oil, but definitely reasons that the average person doesn't understand. One of the ones you can understand was going around and destroying history, rewriting history. I mean, I remember watching videos. I don't remember which Middle Eastern country it was because I'm a fucking idiot, but I'm looking at this like unbelievably massive statue, and and then all of a sudden they just set off dynamite all around it. And this statue is like built into a cliff face. Like it was carved out of the cliff and it's gone now. And that's not the first time that's happened. Uh Destroying history is one of their goals. Thank you, Bike Hub, with another banger. Yeah, dude, that seems to be like the main mission is like rewrite our history to the point where we don't know what the hell we are, what we're supposed to be doing here. And then that's what gives me a little bit of what I feel is like some authority to say, yeah, there's a much bigger force driving behind this than just people with an agenda. But I wanted to talk about this national debt. We fucking did it, guys. We hit 33 trillion. That's it. We're up there.
We start over.
And that's the
we
magic
start at zero
number,
now,
right? Yeah, that now we reset the whole thing. Start it over.
Perfect.
Doenut, what do you think is the significance of that, right? Because I'm always the type of person, you see something and you try to decipher what it means, and then you try to look for like a correlating event in the world that's happening that you can point to and go, oh, maybe that's what it was. Do you have any predictions or at least what you think this might be signifying? Because I think it's signifying to someone that it's time to do something, but I'm stupid, so I don't know what it is.
Right. So the debt clock needs to be reset so they can bring in the CBDCs. This debt that we're in right now, the only two ways to fix this problem is war and digital CBDC. So they're going to do both. And this next month coming up, October, there's this one channel who does remote viewing, independent remote viewing, and they said there's a world-changing event about to happen. And that's why I've been looking into the whole Mountain Dew stuff, and I've been looking into elements and all this. I mean, it's getting wild. So for some sort of event to take place that will change the world, sort of like what happened the last few years, in the 19 years before that, something happened. There's this whole 19 moon cycle stuff that happens. But I believe it goes into a couple things. I thought the 33, I thought I was going to hit that in 2024 because 24 is the Omega symbol. And there's the Alpha and the Omega on the dollar bill. George Washington being the first president, the Alpha, and he's in the Omega symbol. And the Omega event I thought would be in 2024, and I still do. But I think it'll be like a 6-year process of transition into the CBDC. It could be instant, though. It's already in place with Elon, the government.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about this? So this is a theory that ran through my head a lot. So disclosure to all the people watching, I'm a huge faggot. I've seen the play Hamilton probably 3 times live. I don't know why. I really like it. Whatever. It's my guilty pleasure. It's what I like. But
bro, I like Magic Mike sometimes. I put on and I think it's all good.
Me and you, we'll marathon.
I like chick flicks, bro. I watch the rom-coms, or one of my favorite.
It's a good play, and I'll fight anybody. I'll fight anybody in the fucking chat right now. Anyway, listen, I'm getting distracted. The point is, in Boston, the Federal Reserve in Boston.
Are you from Boston?
I'm not from Boston. I'm from New York. I'm in Florida now, though. Fuck all those places, man. We're out here with freedom. We're in the South. But they introduced the Boston Federal Reserve introduced a plan called the Hamilton Project, which was supposed to bring CBDCs to the forefront. And I think it's still implemented and still working right now. But then I think about the play Hamilton, which is the biggest Broadway play in history. It beat the guy with the mask, Phantom of the Opera, which was on Broadway for 70 years. So it's like was this astroturfed? Like I often think about it because I do like it. It sells out all the time, but it's like it's fake history. Like I'm aware of it. I'm completely aware. Like I take my blue pill, I have fun, and then I leave. But was this astroturf? Then you look at the meteoric rise of like a Lin-Manuel Miranda in Disney producing like almost every soundtrack to every movie that's out now there, all the way up to the new, freaking Little Mermaid and all that stuff. It's just interesting how that music ties into almost influencing CBDCs. Like, so people immediately will think, oh, Hamilton. Yeah, I like that play. All the rap and all that shit. Yeah, it's cool. It's like black people, like Spanish people, like me, right? Yeah. Except now that name is going to be correlated with fake money that will not allow you to turn on your lights if you've typed some naughty words, possibly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that's deep. I got to check that out. I haven't seen it, but yeah, that's kind of how they put the messaging in through movies and all that. Yeah, that's that whole priming.
What do you think the significance of prime? I don't understand why prime us. Like I can get behind the idea that there is predictive programming and that they are priming us, and the reason is because I can see it. But I kind of struggle to understand why. Is it so that they can sort of? Is it like a manifestation thing? If you get enough people to have their energy focused on a certain event, then maybe that event can go off better without a hitch. Or how dare you, JC? How dare you? Oh my God! Hi, JC.
You had it coming. You had that coming.
I did. It's a beautiful mustache.
Sorry, Doenut. Yeah, go ahead, man. You were going off on CBD season. I cut you off with some like retarded theory. Please keep going. Tell us.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just where it's heading. It's just that's been the plan all along, and there's a lot of banking rituals that have been going down. I'm always looking out for the stories and the symbolism, because the thing is that we're not insiders, so we don't really know the plan, but we can look at history, we can look at researchers, we can study, and then kind of look at what is coming. But yeah, definitely a CBDC that's on the agenda, which is total control and domination to bring everybody to their knees for sure, because they'll control your bank account, and the money system is the new tribal leader. Like, talking about going back to the whole tribe stuff, when you're ostracized from a tribe, you're gonna pretty much die. It's still stuck in our DNA, the not being ostracized. So that's why people go along with the system and they don't want to be kicked out. But then you got these individuals sometimes who talk bad about the system, and then they get persecuted, executed. So I don't think that the system, like Elon Musk, is the system. Period. Like, if you can't see that, then that's a lost cause right there, in my opinion.
Do you think Elon Musk is the moon child?
He might be. I don't know. I haven't read the Moonchild book, so I don't really know. But I think
we don't read here. We just speculate. We're professional speculators, Doenut.
Yeah,
I appreciate that you come with research and that you do such a good job, but feel free on this show to speculate.
Yeah, I like to speculate. I like to get creative, and I also like to try to find out through the symbols, the rituals that are going to go down. Now, with the bunny rabbit being on the moon and Bugs Bunny being the first abductee by an alien, Marvin the Martian, I was able to be like, yo, the year of the rabbit will be alien disclosures on Sam Tripoli's show last year. And that is definitely what happened. We have alien disclosures coming straight out of the UNESCO, which was created by Julian Huxley, who coined the term transhumanism. There's this connection between transhumanism, the alien agenda, the psychedelics. I believe the aliens are setting up a new religion. I feel like they want to get rid of religion. So let's just like have a holy war happen and then have everybody do the bloodshed ritual. And everybody, decrease the numbers of the humans through that, all in the name of God. And then have a blue beam sort of event while everybody's tripping out on these psychedelics, because the psychedelics do help out with re-imprinting of the autonomic nervous system, which the money system, once that gets cut off, that is directly the ostracization of the tribal leader, sending you out to the jungle to pretty much get eaten by the lions. So that was replaced with money and banking and all this. Now they're going to have total domination of that, which they pretty much already do. But with the CBDC, it will be even more control. So all these bank collapsing, all these weird things happening with that, gas prices up, inflation up, the 33 trillion mark on the US debt clock is all just setting everything up. And the priming element is to show you we're psychic. So they've done these studies where they'll show pornography images, they'll show images, and they'll show a porn image. And our brains will know it's going to show before it even shows. So that, I mean, that's kind of interesting there. So we're kind of psychic.
Is that,
and
though,
they don't,
because if you told me that you were going to show porn to me right now and I said anal and I was right, like I'm going to be right most of the time.
yeah. Well,
It's kind of
see,
just a numbers game.
the study, they didn't know they were going to be shown it, but they had their brains hooked up and it got excited before it was even shown. So it was like the psychic element. So I believe that the whole priming thing has something to do with that.
There's somebody that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you know this guy, if either of you know him. I got it right here. Rupert Sheldrake. Anybody familiar with Rupert Sheldrake?
Yes.
No.
So Rupert was a type of psychologist. Well, he's still alive. He's not dead. I shouldn't talk about him. He's very old, but he's still alive. But basically, he performed a very successful experiment. And I say successful in the sense that he was able to repeat it. And it was basically the relationship between dogs and their owners, and how even if you mix up the variable of there he is, very old. That's a much younger, look at it, 1942. So Rupert is a super interesting dude. I have his podcast on my thing. I haven't listened to it yet, but one of the most famous things that he was able to demonstrate was even if you switched up the variable of when the owner of the dog was coming home, meaning it wasn't on a regular schedule, it's not like 5 p.m. you get home from work and the dog is accustomed to this, switching up the variable, the dog would still become excited like 10 to 15 minutes before the owner showed up. So when the owner was en route, didn't matter if it was 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, you switched it up all the time, the dogs would still know. And they were able to demonstrate that over and over again. And, you know, I know you were just saying humans are, and I'm talking about fucking dogs and their psychic capabilities, but there definitely is something to that. There's a guy I'm having on the Ravens Watch soon. His name is Astro on Twitter. And I want to talk to him a little bit more about it, but he will post an image of a folder and it'll be a remote viewing thing. And basically he'll leave the image up and a bunch of people will contribute what they think the image is, and then he'll have a live space where he reveals it. And I don't know to what success or how many people have managed to guess it, but I've had anecdotal personal experiences where like I was fucking super high with my wife one time and I'm like, baby, tell me what I'm thinking of. And what I tried to do was think of a bird, but think about all the imagery that comes with a bird. Think about like walking through a flock of pigeons and they take off and there's like a bunch of chaos, and you know, think about the noises they make. Think about all aspects of it. And we're super stoned and she looks up at me and she goes, "Bird?" And I was like, "Holy shit, dude." And then we got married the same day. It was fucking phenomenal. But I do think that there is something, we have like a latent psychic ability that I don't know if it's the fluoride corroding our pineal gland, or, you know, maybe we're not doing enough semen retention and we're spilling our seed around. Maybe we'd be better at predicting things if we had more seed. But I do believe that there's something there. We have some sort of latent ability and it's just been suppressed.
There is so with my wife, it's similar. Like sometimes we'll just be sitting there and she'll start singing a song that I have in my head, but exactly to where I have it, as if like we were playing it out loud. And it's gotten to the point where I don't even mention it anymore, because it's just like, okay, I'm broadcasting something to you, and you're picking up on it. Maybe because there's like a sexual relationship, which is also like very interesting to talk about when you talk about the sexual promiscuity of everyone in America and like multiple partners. This is something that is very it's sacred, but I don't want to be too like, protective about this, but it's special and we don't know what it is. There's been studies that say like females pick up like actually like DNA markers of their past lovers and things like this. Maybe, but there is something that we don't quite understand. And it makes me think of like the thing that Tesla said, like if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you got to understand frequency, energy, and vibration. So I'm sitting here thinking of a song, and all music is, even spoken word is just vibration, right? It's how you perceive it. And I'm making these like, little nodules with my voice to create these words. I can create inflections to make things more interesting or less interesting. That's why we have a Barack Obama. That's why people with perfect pitch really can talk to you in a way and hold a crowd's attention because they know which inflections are the most interesting. They might not know why, but all this shit is like vibrations and frequency. So it doesn't surprise me that we can pick up on these things, even if they're kind of just in our own brains, and especially the people that are close to us.
And even in a bigger
ahead,
sense, that was my cat. He just popped up. They've done studies. I believe it was Clive Baxter. I think that's his name, but I don't know if that's his name. But they did studies with plants. So if like the cat is startled, the plant will be scared. So even the plants are all communicating as well, like in your home. And John C. Lilly, who Timothy Leary said who was the new Aleister Crowley, did these experiments with the dolphins, jerking them off and all this like stuff. But he was in the deprivation tank that gets pushed quite a bit, the deprivation tanks, to communicate with the dolphins. And when he made up the decision to end the experiment, all the masturbating of the dolphins and all that, he made it in his mind to end it. The dolphins committed suicide by not eating anymore. Just by him. I know it's crazy, but he made up the decision in his head.
I'm sorry,
bro.
But like this fucking dude is not gonna jerk me off anymore.
Yeah, well, it was a girl doing it. He was not even. He was in this deprivation tank, communicating with them mentally. But still, like even when you make up a decision, and like the cat or the dog, when you make the decision to come back home, then they like go to the door or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's so much going on. Even with the plants communicate. If there's a certain bug to eat it, it'll let off some sort of chemical that makes other bugs come to kill those bugs, like a reward system. So you talking to the plants, it helps them grow as well. So there's a lot going on in the whole symbiotic relationship with everything around us.
Yeah, and to go back to what Top was saying, I just want to bring this up real quick. Obviously everybody has some sort of psychic connection if you spend enough time with them. I say obviously like it's fucking obvious. I don't know. I just feel like you spend enough time with a person, you're going to develop some sort of connection with them. But also, if you're dumping loads in your wife, and then you go back and you think about like Aleister Crowley's sex magic, there is something there like sexual intercourse with a partner, especially an intimate partner. And we're going beyond what Top was even saying with the potential of leaving like genetic material behind and changing a woman's DNA per each sexual partner that she has. If this is your long-term love interest, you're sharing so many different emotions and unique ones that you don't share with other people. But then also there's this sex magic aspect. Who knows what sort of development that goes beyond just DNA we're engaging with our wives or whoever, and what that does to that psychic bond. Because dude, as soon as Top started saying that, very specifically, not just the song that's in my head, you're finishing the part that I was just singing in my head. Dude, that is uncanny. Like that happens to me regularly with me and my wife. And also My son will do it where like, we'll have, what do they call it? An earworm, right? Where like a song stuck in your head. And like, yeah, so admittedly the song is stuck in our heads and I sang it. Now my son sang it, but we'll be taking a walk through the park and the same thing will happen. I'll think of that part and then he will verbally finish the part. And and to Top's point, it's almost gotten to the extent where like, what am I going to do? Bring it up every time? I'd never stop bringing it up. It happens fucking constantly.
And it's
so-
not that it's like
Go ahead.
it's not just like the most popular song. Like I was just singing this popular song that we were listening to. It was like I was like, I got sunshine, and my wife's like, on a cloudy day. I don't listen to that song. It's just a song that I thought of, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking weird. Whatever. Like, just keep it moving. And that probably does happen to a lot more people than just me. So there's something going on. The power of music is one of these things that we don't understand and can't be understated. Like when I was younger, I played in a church, and we played Christian music, and I always felt like I was playing in like I was playing in like the devil's playground. I was playing with a tool that we didn't understand, and we're doing it. You can make people cry and experience euphoria, or you could make people get up and leave, depending on
And it's all vibrations.
which strings you play. Yeah, it's fucking wild when you really think about what this is and how little we know about it, and just continue to do it. And everyone loves it. It's something that everybody knows too. It's not like
Well, Tom, what did we just did our episode with Micah, and Micah told a really interesting story about a lady who I'm gonna fuck this up, but she had like essentially a plate of sand or something like that, or salt, and when she was playing music in a cathedral, God, guys, please go back to the previous episode and listen to this.
Yeah.
But
So she recorded an empty cathedral, and then played the resonance or whatever sound that was picked up in this silent empty cathedral, and played it on like a plate. And it's called somatics, when you vibrate sand and it'll create different shapes. And he's saying that it created the patterns that were in the stained glass. So the people who designed this church understood that much to do that. And we think that this is just, I'll just put my my AirPods on and we're just gonna jam to the next tune. It's like, this shit is deeper than that. Whatever they're putting in your brain is resonating all the way down to your core. You don't understand. It's a dangerous game.
Well, so the windows and the way that this cathedral was built, how they have these wild shapes, that once they put the vibration within this cathedral, that same shape went into the sand.
Yeah.
So he was saying that it was like a dome. It was like a specific kind of dome shape, this cathedral. And when the lady recorded that and then played it on like this, it's like a hot plate almost. You ever seen somatics before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll just vibrate the sand. It created the same patterns that were on the stained glass, which is
this kind of goes into the priming and the symbols too, what we're talking about, how we have all these symbols everywhere, then we're getting hit by music. Like, why did that song come into your head? I got on the cloudy day. Then there's that aspect of you and your partner psychically communicating, but maybe that song was playing when you both went to the grocery store or something that we're not really aware of, because all the music at the grocery store puts you in this state of mind of, I want to provide. It's all to manipulate to buy food, just like the candy that's super like bright and whatnot is down at the bottom for the kids because they're at that eye level. Or when you walk into the grocery store, they're cooking the chicken because it sets off the hunger. So you go in. So we're all being manipulated in the car, in the elevators with these musics, and all the symbols are everywhere around us too. So it's like, I mean, it's interesting, but music is definitely like a tool of priming. Like, why did that song, the earworm, pop into to the head while we're just driving in the car, and then a radio station, like that song, It's About Damn Time. You got Lizzo. That little earworm was in all the commercials for medicine, for food, for it's about that time. and so like that, it gets stuck into the head and you keep singing it, and then it sets off something. So you want to buy
start
these
to
products.
associate it, with exactly. Yeah. Whatever they prime you to associate the music with forever. That's going to be in your head. That's why
Something
jingles
more,
work so effectively.
yeah, something even more nefarious is like how are radio waves transmitted, right? There's some kind of vibration going through the air. That's how you're picking it up in your car when you're doing 70 miles an hour, and you can listen to fucking Lizzo. And then it gets you to think about the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. It's like this Wi-Fi in maybe 10 years or less, it'll be one of these things where like we got a Wi-Fi free zone, no Wi-Fi, no smoking in this zone because we're not aware. There's like there's shit going everywhere. And there's like vibrations, there's rays, there's all kinds of stuff. Who knows how this is affecting us, how it's dumbing down the entire society? But I can tell you that it is correlated. When I look around and I see like the absolute clown shit that's going on in the world, I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for this. It's not an accident.
Yeah, dude, I noticed that in New Orleans where it was, I don't know if you guys have ever watched They Clone Tyrone, great movie. But there's a couple of scenes in that movie where, people, they're able to manipulate the entirety of like a black dance club by putting on like aggressive music and they all become aggressive and then putting on like romantic R&B and they all start like bumping and grinding. And I witnessed this, dude. I'm walking through the streets of New Orleans. I'm on Bourbon Street. It's a venomous, disgusting like circle of hell. It's a terrible place. I loved it. It was great. The food is amazing, but what you see there, you start to, I said it myself. I was like, I began to empathize with like Hurricane Katrina. I'm like, maybe it should have just finished it because I'm walking down there and it's like all the bars are open. And so as you pass by an open door, you get a little taste of the music that they're bumping, right? And what I noticed is that certain people, especially the more intoxicated they were, they'd have a normal pace. And then all of a sudden they'd pass by the door and their pace would change a little bit. They'd start, and then they'd get out of earshot of the music and they'd start walking normally. And I'm so weird. I can't just enjoy myself at a place. If it's too public, I start to become detached a little bit and start to like observe my surroundings instead of just like, having a good time. And I'm like, this is a fucking form of hypnosis. These people are under a spell. I could see it happening to them like everywhere. And there's definitely something.
That's the Dave Chappelle bit. You guys remember that bit, right? He wwent into with John Mayer. It's like, John, play the fight music. Yeah, he plays the fight music on the guitar and everyone starts fighting. Then he brings like Questlove into the barbershop. He's like, and everyone starts fucking. And he's like, what will happen if we put a megaphone over here and just scream gibberish? And all the Spanish people start dancing. It's like, yeah, it's exactly that.
It's like sympathetic magic.
Yes. And it's presented to you with comedy. Very interesting, right? It's something that's like, now that's a meme. So like, oh shit, yeah, no, I got that from the meme, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, even like when you go to a gym, right, or a library, just being around people all doing something is like a school of fish. It like that's why people go to that, is because we are all connected. Rather than just working out alone at home, people go to a gym because they see other people doing it, and it kind of gets you into that trance.
Herd mentality.
It's kind of weird though, because you go to the gym and everybody's got headphones in now. So everybody's kind of like, I bet you that plays a role in that. Do you go to a gym at all?
No,
yeah, but I'm weird. I listen to the whole time I'm in the gym, I listen to podcasts. I listen specifically to Tony Merkel. So all I do is listen to like werewolf stories while I'm where I don't it works for me, but everybody else is like listening to music, and I get it. You're absolutely right. You put on a banger of a song and it gives you that extra gear to like push a little bit harder, go a little bit further. Music's really weird in that way. I used to fight, and my coach would always say that I wasn't allowed to listen to music because there's no music in the ring. And so he acknowledged, like, no, dude, if you listen to music, it's going to give you an unfair advantage. How wild is that? In combat with another human being, music will give you an advantage. I always used to think if I could just get headphones that wouldn't fall out while I was fighting, I would just be a monster, dude. I'd be undominable or indomitable.
With the Neuralink, you'll be able to do that with the Neuralink.
Yeah, until you get that shit knocked loose. Imagine how whack music was back in like the American Revolution, where it's like some dude with a fucking flute, and the guy's running in there like, yo, this shit gets me hype, man. I'm ready to kill some Brits with this fucking flute. Oh man, it's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, but they'd be playing some crazy, but like those war drums, like sounds like pretty nuts right there. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's wild.
Top has another engagement. So, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you before we go. What do you think of these sandcastle aliens that they're rolling out in Mexico?
I thought they were cake.
No, that was just a dude who, you know what I noticed, and this question's for you as well, Doenut. I noticed that the guy who cut the cake, the surrounding padding that the alien is laying in is not the same thing. Because that shit had me. I was like, these motherfuckers gave us cake. You know that show on Netflix? Like, is it cake? The whole Mexican
that
government
show.
was on that show.
Yeah, give them
but-
cake. Give them cake is like an old saying for
Yeah,
the
give the
Yeah,
peasants.
let them eat
cake.
cake.
So that alien agenda, this has been long planned out. I think it's to start a new religion for this Aquarian age, leaving Pisces. And those aliens were released by UNESCO through the Nazca lines in Peru. Now, Peru, they definitely got some wild stuff going on there. Lake Titicaca, the gates,
You're so immature. I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, dude. I couldn't.
This
Lake
guy's a
Titi-
dick.
Lake
He said Lake Titicaca. He's like starts laughing. All right, I'm sorry.
No,
on,
you're
don't
good.
tell me the lady
I
did.
said that. I said that because I know it'd be funny. But like Peru definitely got some Fortean phenomenons happening. A lot of UFO sightings. There's real stuff there, and that's why UNESCO, which is United Nations, puts their stamp down right there on that World Heritage Site of the Nazca lines, because they were making all these different lines for the gods above. Like, who are they making it for back in the day? Now, this is being released to the Mexican governments under oath through UNESCO, because that's where they found through these mines. This is all operated by the United Nations. And it goes into the environmentalist, which is pretty much a new propaganda term for eugenicists. Because Julian Huxley created UNESCO, he also coined the term transhumanism, and he was part of the British Eugenics Society. Now, that got a bad name and a bad rap because of World War II. So propaganda means public relations. They changed that term to public relations, Edward Bernays. But the eugenicists, they can't come out and say that, like the Georgia Guidestone saying maintain humanity at 500 million for the environment, to keep in perpetual balance with nature. So the World Fund with the little panda bear on it, that was created by Julian Huxley as well, whose brother was Aldous Huxley, who was the chief archetype for MK Ultra. Wrote the book Brave New World. So this whole alien release and agenda is going to be straight connected to the environment. We need to save the environment, which goes into eugenics, which it's very deep, but it's just changing words around. We need to
think this is one of those things where like the aliens are coming to save us from ourselves, from destroying the planet, kind of a deal?
That will be pushed into the narrative. I don't know how, but that's where it's coming from. This is where this information is coming out of, so you can expect that narrative to be part of it for sure.
Yeah, global warming.
And so do you
or
think that
climate
they're
change.
real?
Those alien things?
Yeah, like the ones that they showed us.
No. Just like evolution's not real, and they're like, oh no, look, this is evolution, but then it comes out, oh no, it was actually just a pig that they mixed with a man for the bones.
Yeah.
Like, it's that same story.
Top, what were you
Yeah,
saying?
like dinosaurs.
Like dinosaurs, yeah. That'll be one of my
Dinosaurs are
next
fake and gay.
documentaries, is the dinosaurs, because my rabbi told me dinosaurs were fake when I was in like elementary
Yo.
school. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't
I
know-
don't do this for this show, but hell yeah.
Yeah,
Shout
so
out to your rabbi.
yeah, shout out to him. And this was in Las Vegas, and then I would go and question him. I'd be like, nah, you wrong, this and this. And then I would go to the school and then question the school and tell the school. So I would say dinosaurs are fake back in elementary school, and they would be like, no, you're wrong. So it was kind of cool because I got to question I was always questioning everybody.
That's a struggle, man. My son, like I asked him the other day, I said, what do you want to be when you grew up. He said dinosaur. I was like, I don't know what to, I fucking got to give this kid away. I don't know what to do with him. Like, when do I break it to him? This isn't real. Oh man, that's
Have you
how I
heard
feel.
about the
just-
dead internet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we're all in like
Yeah, that's where
different
my other show plays.
we're all in like different silos in the internet. So like for example, you hear all these stuff about the tiny hats, I guess is I love saying that. I think it's so funny. You hear all this stuff on that, so it seems real, but someone else with a different internet doesn't get that information. Like I get all this like different information that other people get. So everyone's in their own little reality tunnels. I didn't know if, and the bunny rabbit, you know, the Illuminati hand sign of the 666, the okay hand sign.
Yeah.
That's a bunny rabbit too in the shadow.
If we all throw it up,
I ain't
this
gonna
will
throw it
end up
up.
here forever. Dude, don't be fucking afraid of these
No,
people.
Come on.
I
Insane
did
Clown
it. No,
Posse.
I did it back when I was doing hip hop videos with Mad Child and Bax War. So they're an underground hip hop group called Bax War. So it's a B and a W. And I threw it up because I took a picture with him and I wasn't expecting I was going to do Illuminati research or anything. I'm just like, I just do music videos behind the scenes. And
I gotta do something with my hands.
people take that and put it all over the place. And I'm just like, how am I going to explain hip hop?
Hold on. I can't wait, guys. When if I ever
please,
become notable
let's go,
enough,
dude.
please
I'm
clip
not
this
doing
up.
that.
I want you, put that up there. That's gonna be a
People think
great
that
one. I hope.
My
The brick
back
walls.
rap,
Yeah, you're gonna get.
They're like,
you're
"Are
gonna get,
you a mason, dude?" I'm like, I never laid a brick in my life, dude. I have no idea. This is fucking fake. Okay, it's not even real brick.
Yeah, no, you're definitely gonna get people on the brick thing for sure.
That's all right. I need some lore. If there's anything that I need, it's fucking lore. I need some background juice for my character, right? They have to think like, oh, the Raven is fucking. He's a shill. He's a paid shill. My goal is to make people think that I'm making money from the government whilst I'm making no money from the show.
You gotta amplify the mustache. I'm telling you, if you amplify that,
How could you do it more? I don't.
Twirl
just
it.
look at like
You gotta twirl
Nietzsche.
it.
You see Nietzsche's mustache?
I used to have a stupid fucking swirly mustache.
Yeah, just amplify
did.
that. You'll do good.
I've never seen Nietzsche's mustache. I have all of his books, and ask me how many of them I've read.
It's good though. I do the same thing, and I keep them for when they do take the internet down. I got these books. Oh, he's about to show us.
That's
Oh yeah,
That's
I didn't
exactly
know if
why
there
I
was
do it,
gonna.
too.
There's no picture of him. I thought there would be a picture.
That's why I don't read the
Well-
books. There's no pictures in them.
Yeah, what the heck?
Listen, we got to wrap this up because I got to piss hard, dude, like really hard. It actually has gotten to the point where it hurts. It's about 15 minutes into the show, I had to piss. So why don't we start? Donut, do you have any parting thoughts for the people?
Nope.
Yeah, fuck that,
Nope.
dude.
Fuck y'all. You can find me at toplobster.com, toplobster on Twitter. Come follow me. Thank you guys. Donut.
You can find
Thank you so
me-
much for having me.
All right, brother.
Of course, Donut. You can find me at David_Lee_Corbo. As Top says, it's super easy to remember. And you could also see my other show, The Ravens Watch. And Donut, one last time, where can we find you?
DOE-NUT.com. Donut.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Peace
Thank
out,
you guys for
Thank you.
listening to Nephilim Death Squad. Oh,